Successful Minds with Patricia Baronowski-Schneide, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Successful Minds with Patricia Baronowski-Schneide is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Patricia Baronowski-Schneide.
Hello, and welcome back to Successful Minds. I'm your host, Patty Baronowski-Schneide, CEO of Pristine Advisors. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Stephen Fox at Kilos Inc. Our topic today focuses on a non-opioid, non-addictive drug to help 500 million people with neuropathic pain. The drug may solve the opioid crisis. Also, they're raising capital. So before we jump in, a little bit about Dr. Fox. He served on the faculty of Harvard School of Dental Medicine and New York University Dental College, Doctor of Dental Surgery, Medal of Freedom recipient from members of U.S. Senate, Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. So thank you for joining us, Dr. Fox.
My pleasure.
So why don't you give us a quick rundown of what people can learn from Kilos, as the word stands from the Greek god of healing pain?
Well, there are a lot of people that are suffering from neuropathic pain, chronic pain. It could be from diabetes, as an example, in the fingers and in the toes, acute pain. It could be shingles, it could be post-surgical pain, it might be chemotherapy. There are a lot of people that would opt out of their chemotherapy and rather die than have the kind of pain that they have. So the drugs that are out there right now don't work. And our team at Cornell has developed a new drug, and we're testing it and going through the FDA process.
Wow. Now, seeing how you're involved with the biotech world, can you tell us a bit about your process? Like what intrigues you, what you look for, and how you navigate the process?
Well, I try and look for technologies that I think will have a major impact universally. So, and I also try and look for technologies that I think people will be interested in funding, because if they're not excited enough to fund it and it's not impactful enough, you can't get anywhere. It's a very arduous road to bring a new product to market.
Right. Now, what motivated you to develop a new non-opioid, non-addictive drug to help 500 million people with neuropathic pain?
Well, it was actually deeply personal. I had a father who was a Bellevue surgeon, tough guy, served in 2 wars, and he was taking my triplicates for Percodan to try and get through the night because of the pain from diabetes. I had a mother who was on chemotherapy. I had my office broken into 3 times where people were looking for opioids. And as a practitioner, I knew I was writing prescriptions that didn't work for facial pain. So on many levels, I could see that we desperately needed a new drug for the chronic pain, and we desperately needed to solve the opioid crisis. And it gets worse every day.
Yeah, unfortunately. So what challenges have you faced in developing a new non-opioid, non-addictive drug for the treatment of neuropathic pain?
Well, there are challenges. It's a big chessboard, and the challenges are everywhere. The challenges are developing the drug. The challenges are putting the right team together. The challenges are getting funding, getting through the FDA process, patents. There are SEC work. There are numerous entrepreneurial obstacles as well as scientific obstacles.
Now, are there any side effects or potential complications associated with this?
So far, not that I know of. In animal studies, we're effective, we're safe, we have bioavailability, safety. You never know what will happen as you go through testing. And of course, every drug known to mankind has some sort of a side effect. It's just a question of, is that side effect as important as the good that it's doing if you're in pain? So everything is balanced and weighed out, but so far so good.
Nice. Now, how long does it take for patients to feel the effects?
Well, we don't know yet because we're not in patients yet. We're in animals.
Okay, gotcha.
So certainly within a week, we can see a lot of our tests show results.
Now, do you have any plans on expanding the use of your drug to treat other types of pain?
Well, you never know until you get there. Science is a funny thing. We might find out that it is good for acute pain. We don't know that. That's not our target.
Right.
but I'll be satisfied right now to help 500 million people with neuropathic chronic pain.
Nice. Now, what's one tool that you always carry in your toolbox, no matter what project you're working on?
Tenacity. I might fail, but I'll never quit.
Nice. It's a good
So
attitude.
you have to have tenacity.
Right.
There are lots of obstacles.
Yeah, that's true, especially in the medical world. Now, what are you most excited about right now?
Well, the prospect of getting the drug developed. I mean,
Right.
it's a very exciting dream if we can realize it.
Right.
So, I just keep that in mind. I'm excited about our new patent. It was issued. We received notice of issuance. I'm excited about our new
Nice.
addition to our
Congratulations.
scientific advisory board from Lilly and
Yes.
Merck. I'm
Nice.
excited about the project overall.
Yeah, I mean, you have a twofold effect. I mean, you're helping people and you're potentially dissolving the opioid crisis. So
Right,
it's killing two birds with
right,
one stone. Nice.
right. It's actually the trifecta, I call it, because if you're
Nice.
a capitalist and
Mhm.
no drugs work, it's up to a $25 billion a year market.
Wow.
So there's a lot for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. Now, what's fundamentally changed about your work from when you started until now?
Well, I don't know if there are any changes. There's a lot more to do. So, I mean, you have to put the time in and keep building it and build it and they will come. So
Right.
we're always adding people and we're always trying to raise more capital and we're
Right.
always trying to move it along, the science along.
Right. Now, what's the biggest problem that you or your team solved in the last year?
The biggest problem that we solved in the last year. Well, I think maximizing, although we're not done maximizing our drug.
Mhm.
The, and of course, getting through a lot of the animal trials, and of course, getting a patent issued.
Right.
It's a
Got
lot
a
of
lot of
different
hurdles.
parts.
Right. Yeah, a lot of moving parts. They don't make it easy, that's for sure. Yeah. Now, what's one initiative on your whiteboard that wasn't there 30 days ago?
Well, we're working also on a platform with a nano body in it to have this particular platform not only work with our drug now, but also maybe work with other drugs for other diseases with other tissue specificity. And
Nice.
we've also been very fortunate over the last couple of years that the government has worked with us and issued over time $5.4 million in NIH grants.
Wow,
So
nice.
we've had tremendous support from the federal government.
Wow, that's a good thing. I mean, if they're seeing it as a problem, it's great that you have them on your side.
We think so.
Yeah. Now, what's something about the industry that surprised you lately?
Well, just that it's getting tougher to raise capital because
Right.
of the macro environment. So a major part of that is that there's a graveyard of companies that failed trying to develop a new drug for
Right.
neuropathic pain. So a lot of the companies moved over to cancer. And I
Right.
saw an interesting statistic that in the last decade,
Mhm.
$32 billion was spent on cancer research and $120 million on neurological research,
Wow.
neuroscience. It's very out of balance.
Yeah, for sure. Hmm. Definitely interesting. Now, what's one of the biggest challenges in the industry that the industry is facing today?
Well, the industry always faces the challenge of getting through the FDA, having a good
Right.
solid drug,
Right.
and of course getting the funding to do it. I mean, it's always the challenge.
Right. No, that's for sure. Now, if you can go back and give yourself one piece of advice about business, what would it be?
Well, try and realize your dream. When the naysayers say it can't be done, it could be done.
Right.
And if it can't be done, then you failed. So every entrepreneur has a list of failures, but
Mhm.
if you have one success, it was well worth it.
Yeah,
So
and
I always say you
sometimes,
miss all the shots you don't take.
right, that's true. And sometimes, you take somebody to try something, and even if it fails, that next person might say, but let's try this different.
Maybe,
And eventually,
maybe,
yeah, nice.
maybe.
Now, what's one big takeaway you want listeners to get from this episode?
Well, the big takeaway is that technology is moving very quickly, and
Yeah.
something you could not have imagined 25 years ago today you see in everyday life. So if it
true.
seems implausible or if you think it's impossible, it's not necessarily true.
Right. You take the chance, right?
Take the chance.
Right. So now I'll post your contact info in the end, but just tell listeners how they can connect with you.
Well, you can email me at drstevefox@acalosinc.com, and it's posted. You'll see how it's spelled.
Right.
I'm always receptive to hearing from people and talking to people. So please, that would be great.
Nice. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was Dr. Stephen Fox, the CEO of Aquilos Inc. So thanks for listening to Successful Minds with Patty B. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the show here. I'll provide the links after. And you can also listen via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So thanks again for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Successful Minds with your host, Patricia Baronowski-Schneide. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.